Was a girl running in our group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford Coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
And this is a real touchy subject, Charles. Very touchy subject. Car debt piling up as more Americans owe thousands more than their vehicles are worth. Chris Martin knew he needed a bigger vehicle, a bigger car, and as the birth of his fourth child approached, yeah, he did need a bigger car. But he and his wife were already $14,000 underwater on their two vehicles. They had two vehicles, and they owed money. So the couple proposed an unusual 2-for-1 deal with an Atlanta area auto dealer in 2020. Trading in both their vehicles so they could afford a new 3-row Ford Explorer. Well, that's big enough for 4 kids. Their total loan, and after factoring in negative equity, a service contract, fees, and other costs, fees, I love their fees, ballooned to $66,000 on the $49,000 Explorer. That's darn near $20,000. Well, it's 14 plus you got to add all the fees and stuff. As trade-in values begin to cool each month, more and more consumers will find themselves falling from positive to negative equity, said Ivan Drury, Director of Insights at Auto Market Researcher Edmunds. Unless American car shoppers break their habit of buying again too soon, we will see the negative equity side continue to rise. They will give you a car loan if you owe $20,000 on a $30,000 car. They'll give you a car loan for this new car you're going to get. Plus, they'll take that $20,000 debt.
Right.
They own you.
Right.
My God, they own you.
It's a debt cycle. I mean, and this is nothing new. We've talked about this a few times now, is this idea of, think about it. It really comes down to timing. I had the same problem happen when I bought my house. You buy your house at the top of the bubble, and the bubble bursts. It takes 10 years for your house to get its value back.
Yep.
Cars the same way. Everybody that's running out that needs to buy a car, running out to buy a car right now, they're paying top dollar for it. And if the bottom falls out, all of a sudden the value of your car is going to be cut in half, but you still owe that. Can
you imagine still owing $35,000 on a vehicle with 180,000 miles on it?
Right. And then
it's 10 years old. You got a 10-year mortgage.
So now you have to decide. Well, and this is, again,
you don't get a car loan now. You get a mortgage.
Right. Well, but this is the whole thing.
For God's sake.
Is you've got cars getting more expensive. So people are going to have to get 8 and 10-year loans on the car. So hopefully the car lasts that long. Hopefully you don't need a $15,000 battery a few years into it. Wow. But then also interest rates are high. And then you're rolling in your previous debt. So again, you have to decide. And there's a lot of people that they want to get that shiny new car. I'm the kind of guy, if I drive a car, me, I'm going to have 300,000 miles on my car, and I'm fine with it because I got a good mechanic. He takes care of it. I take care of it. And so that's the whole thing. There's some people, they can't, every 2 years they get that itch. So I got to get a new car. Got to have a new car.
Yeah, I get it about every 5.
But I'm saying it's like, and that's the whole thing, is that there are people that get that itch, and every time they do that, there's all those fees get rolled in.
Oh, God, the fees are unbelievable. You know what? That's this whole thing. This goes back to what we started talking about this last week, when we talked about the dealers and the automakers shutting down plants for a week or two at a time till there's limited inventory at the dealers.
Right.
And they're controlling pricing.
We need supply, and they're cutting supply.
Right. Well, they're doing it because they can get the price they want. They can continue to get this huge high price.
They got a bunch of pencil pushers that tell them this is the exact amount of quantity we want. If we have too many, then we'll have to start giving people below sticker again, which we don't want to do.
Yeah, and if everybody's got different trucks, then we might have to just start wheeling and dealing.
Right. The last thing we want you to do is to show up at the lot and see a bunch of trucks, because then you know
I can wheel and deal on whichever one I think.
Right.
Or I can at least get the one I want.
Or maybe you get back to leasing and stuff like that.
Well, I don't even know if they're bothering with leases anymore.
Yeah.
They want to sell they had their huge money year because they had extra cash over the value of the truck. Now, I go to buy a truck that's $70,000. You got to add 10,000 because if you want that truck, it's an extra 10. So I'm at 80. I owe 20. I owe 20 on the car I'm driving.
Right.
They roll that in. I'm at $100,000 to buy a car.
So this goes back to that thing where I think about, the things that we don't teach kids in school. Think about, if I buy a house, it should appreciate in value. If I invest money, it should earn me interest and I should make money. The car is kind of the one thing. So
You
imagine
lose money on it.
you're a young person, you get into a car payment that's as high as a house payment. Now you can't afford, you're paying your student loans, you can't afford a house, now you're renting. So basically you spend your entire life not building wealth, not building equity because you got a loan, you got an apartment, you've got a car loan, you got all this. You're never going to build wealth. You're going to be a debt slave.
Well, the old saying in the car business was, if the minute you drive that new car off the lot, it's $1,000 worth $1,000 less.
Right.
Well, if I paid $5,000 over the sticker for this sedan I'm buying, I just lost $6,000 driving off the car lot.
Right.
It's just, I don't understand. Is this all about control? I can't imagine making people poor, I suppose, is what it's about.
Well, we can get into the conspiracy of the same people that are making money off your car loan or making money off your house loan or making money off your student.
It's all the same people. Yes, I know.
The same name.
Yes,
the same
I know.
people that are pushing the new technologies that are going to cost more. And that kind of gets to the conspiracy of it. No matter what you're doing, the same people are making money off of it.
Can you imagine there's an engineer at Ford that decides, I don't like that guy, and you're driving down the road and your radio quits because he's bugging you. He's doing crap to you that he's allowed to do over the air.
It gets to be a bigger discussion about all of this technology. We know that there are technologies out there, and this is not a conspiracy. There are license plate readers. There's all these systems in place, and we know that there are people that have access to that data. And this is always my argument. I said I understand that people think that there's a place for like license plate readers and all this technology on the highway. I said I understand the need for it, but the question is, who has access to that database? Can somebody check up on their old girlfriend on it? Can somebody?
First of all, who has the right to do that?
Right.
And second of all, who has the right to see it?
So is there a proper, basically, protocol? Is there a proper chain of custody? So again, this idea, like you said, I don't like somebody, or I want to check up on an old girlfriend. I want to stalk somebody. I want to find information about somebody.
I can see a stalker with this, yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, is that's the question, is how are we securing this data? And that's my question about any government data, whether it's, you can say it's a conspiracy, but they're reading your emails. They have all this information about you. Who's looking at that data?
Yeah, well, they're looking at my car data.
Right, absolutely.
And my payment has gone kablooey on me. It's just insane. It's just, I don't know, it's just not right as far as I'm concerned. The next story I got is about something we followed all year. The premise before it and the time of it, and now it's down to a runoff. United Auto Workers, UAW, President Ray Curry is narrowly trailing reform candidate Sean Fain, who I want to see get in his bid for re-election after most votes have been counted, and the race now depends on about 1,600, get this, where else but America, 1,600 challenged ballots.
The absentee ballots? Mail-in?
I'll go a little further here. Fain leads Curry by 645 votes in the runoff, according to the federally appointed monitor overseeing the voting process. Well, there's your first problem. The race will determine who will lead the union through high-stakes contract negotiations, because this is the year. This fall, with the Detroit Three, Stellantis, Chrysler, Ford, and Chevy, or GM. Already, 6 reform-minded challengers have won leadership spots on the union's 14-member International Executive Board. Everybody's a reformer in the UAW. You know why? Because the UAW was a mess.
Right.
It was corrupt. So everybody that is trying to get in there they all claim to be reformers. Let's hope they are. This Sean Fain is supposed to be a real buster. The monitor's office said in a statement that it was working closely with the UAW and the election vendor to review the challenged ballots and verify the eligibility of the members who cast them. You mean there's stuff in a ballot box in America? No, that never happens, does it, Chuck? We've been talking here just recently about money. Money is important. Money is very important, Chuck.
Money can be exchanged for goods and or services.
That's right. And you can buy a car.
And you can buy a car. Or you can,
And you can buy a car, and you can still owe money on that car when you buy another car, and they'll roll it right in. They'll be glad to give you this money. They'll be glad to give you more money.
Right.
And raise your payment. I mean, it's just, I don't understand. First, they made sure that their inventories are light so that you don't have your cars to choose from, so you got to pay more for them. You got to pay sticker or above. If you want a truck, don't even ask. But, and and the manufacturers are doing this on purpose. They said they're calling it controlled inventory to keep the prices up. Now, the dealers that are getting over sticker need to be slapped, because that's not allowed. That's really not allowed by the manufacturer. That's all they're doing. So if you paid over sticker for a car, it's because the dealer did that to you. Paying sticker for it it means you just paid what the manufacturer thinks you should pay for it. And if you wheel and deal beyond that and get it lower, good, God bless you. But it's not going to happen, I'll tell you right now. And Chuck, I just don't get it. How is the government letting people get so deep into a horrible, horrible debt of a car that if it lasts you 10 years, if it lasts you 15 years, how are you going to pay off $100,000?
I think two things. I think it's similar to like the student loan thing, is that they waited till it became a crisis to start talking about it, and it's still a crisis. So I mean, this is going to be, that's why we always talk about the bubbles. Like this is, all these different things are going to be the next bubble. This will end up being the next bubble after the next bubble.
Well, this is what's happening to my car business, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
First of all, they took away your freedom of choice. They kept the vehicles to a limited inventory, and you had to buy what they had.
You can take whatever you want as long as it's the color we have in stock.
And now they're burdening you with enough debt to make a small town cry, and it's allowed. They're allowed to make you an indentured servant.
I was thinking about, like when the little old lady passes away, they say, well, grandma's got that car in the garage. She only used it to go to church on Sundays. Everybody fights over that nice car. Then they find out now it's going to be grandma passed away. She owes $100,000
Yeah, she
on
owes
that car. Who
on
wants
the car
it?
There's
a 10-year-old car in the garage. She has $100,000 on the $10,000 car. Who wants it?
Yeah, does anybody want it? And also, then they're letting the car dealers and so forth they're letting them make you poor.
But remember, this goes back to the idea of, you remember the states are fighting, the dealers are fighting the monopoly of not letting you get the car straight from Elon or whoever. Right? I mean, that's the whole thing, is that you've created a monopoly, and now you'll do what you'll take the car we offer you.
Yes, that's right. They don't want you to call Elon and get what you want.
Right. Might take you a year or two, but at least you'll get it.
Well, yeah, at least you'll get it. Well, AAA. Now, Chuck is, I know, a big fan of automated driving and automated vehicles and all the technology. He likes all that stuff. The electric cars I'm okay with to a point, but the automated, I got a real problem with that. I rode in one in Vegas, a little automated little bus that goes up and down the strip. And it was a little spooky at first, but I got used to it. It was all right. I suppose I could do it. I felt like Flash Gordon and riding in those things in the tunnels. Americans are becoming more afraid of automated vehicles, and many misunderstand the capabilities of driver assist technology, according to the survey released Thursday. I have enough driver release technology on my car. When the wife goes to drive it, she has no clue what that means. Right. Any of those things on the dash. Yeah. When the save a lane keeper comes on and all that. The share of respondents themselves as afraid to ride in automated vehicles, jumped to 68% this year in the American Automobile Association's annual automated vehicle survey, from 55% the year before. So it jumped 13%. The survey canvassed roughly 1,000 American adults. You canvass 1,000 people and get a solid answer. You can make a you can make a case for that. When we are not expecting such a dramatic decline in trust from previous years, said Greg Brandon, Director of Automotive Research for AAA. AAA, the Bible. Still, with the number of high-profile crashes that have occurred from over-reliance on current vehicle technologies, this isn't entirely surprising. In other words, he's bashing the crashes. You know, they've had a lot of crashes, and then people are afraid to drive them, and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I think people are just generally afraid to drive a car, to let a car drive itself. I've just had too many situations in my life where I had to think to keep from crashing. I don't think that car can do it. I just don't think.
Well, and then, so the argument should be, it's an extra set of eyes. It's basically having an extra driver. You know what I mean? And that's sort of the idea is, in a perfect world, it would be an extra set of eyes. It would be an extra set of sensors to look for things. And, you know, it can react faster than you can. So the idea is, I agree. I think ultimately most people will be comfortable with the technology that you have now. It's going to help me just keep an extra set of eyes on things.
Okay, the warning stuff that I have and the correction stuff, I can understand that technology there. I can understand why some people are scared of it, but it's not a problem. Everybody, you know what they always say when they come in my shop? It's just more stuff to go wrong. Well, you know what? It's more stuff to help you drive right. I like the little blind spot mirror that, you know.
Yeah, they blink and do all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah. I watch them like a hawk now, and in the lane keeping, I like that. I don't drift away when I'm sucking down a green river from the blue top. I got to have my green river, and so I understand that, but a lot of people don't.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want that. They want to just get in their car and drive it and be all like they always were.
Okay, so then
they're afraid of modernization.
Okay, so that becomes the question then. Should we have the option of turning that stuff on and off? You can turn cruise control on and off. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to drive your car, drive your car. If you want to turn the accessories on, then turn them on.
Well, if the car's driving itself, but if you can be behind the wheel and have a brake pedal in front of you and a steering wheel, you don't need a gas pedal. I don't care if I get a gas pedal, but I want a brake and a steering wheel.
Right.
In case that LiDAR sensor in the front bumper decides to just go bad on it at the last minute, and here I am crashing.
I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine called me the other day. She had an accident recently where she hit something hit like the wall or something like that. Just kind of scraped the curb, hit the wall, damaged some sensors on her semi-autonomous electric car.
Right.
So she thought everything was fine. She said, I'm going to drive it around. I'll make an appointment, go to the body shop, all this. A few days later, she's in traffic or something like that. She's at a light. The car decides to start going backwards on itself. So basically the car, because the sensors were giving bad data, thought that somebody was in front of her, was trying to prevent an accident. The car was going in reverse by itself. Oh, and she said, I'm going to the dealership trying to explain what's happening. They said, we can't recreate it. They said, it's got to be we got to get these sensors fixed and all this stuff. So, I mean, again, this idea of, like you said, you get too reliant on the sensor. If the sensor gets damaged,
well, that's the thing. I don't know that. I don't know if I want to rely my life. I don't, take a chance on my life,
right,
on somebody else's thinking. I like to watch what I'm doing. I like to do what I'm doing, and I can generally stay out of most accidents.
So then I guess that's the question: is should the dealers or should the manufacturers be making a car just like you have different packages? You can have the package that doesn't have the fancy stuff, and you can have the one that does.
Well, that's what they should be doing.
I would like, again, driving that Tesla, I liked having all those features because I didn't know where I was going, and it was very helpful.
Well, right now what I've got on my Edge, my Ford Edge, is just enough. That's enough sensors, enough. I got the backup camera, and it works, by the way.